Hello guys, my name is Lars Stender. I'm a writer from Denmark who specializes in science fiction and fantasy. Today I'm here to read from my fantasy novel, Madigo and the Hounds. And if you want to know more of me and my books, you're welcome to follow me on Facebook, Lars A.R. Stender. Madigo and Hounds, Chapter 54. Coughing and spitting, Madigo came crawling out of what had once been his prison cell. His clothes hung in smoldering threads on his muscular body, and some of the hair on the right side of his head had been scorched off. He tried to get his feet, but his leg gave way and he tumbled back down to the ground. Everything was spinning, and he had no idea whether he was on his way up from the dungeon or down deeper into it. He could hear the sound of tumult and the blaring battle horn coming from somewhere above, but the sounds were ricocheted back and forth in the musky corridors and tunnels of the dungeon, so his confused mind couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on. However, help was on the way. He heard someone yell, and through the vibration of the floor he could feel someone coming running towards him. He tried once again to get to his feet, but before he got that far, he was grabbed by strong gloved hands that pulled him up. They were two Dracoids, security guards of the dungeon, who had found him. They looked somewhat confused and peered about the corridor irresolutely. Up from the fortress courtyard, the battle horn blared once again. It was clear that something very serious was going on up there. Madigo tried to get a strength from his gift so that he could attack the security guards, but a sharp pain in his stomach made him hesitate. He needed more time to recuperate from his last barrage. The two Dracoids finally decided to move Madigo, but just as they began to pull him along, they were suddenly overcome with immense fatigue and slowly collapsed outside of Madigo's scorched cell. Madigo stared down at them in surprise before he noticed a strange scent in the smoke that was floating around in the dungeon. He recognized that scent. It was, and then he too fainted. When he came to again, he was being pulled up to the fortress courtyard from the bloodstone dungeon by eager hands. "Hurry up," said a girl, whose voice Madigo immediately recognized. It was Helena, his sister. He turned his head and tried to locate her, but instead received a blow on the head when he hit the edge of a last step on the staircase leading down to the dungeon. "Ouch! Don't! What were you doing, you idiot? Do you want to kill him?" Helena exclaimed. "Yes, okay, but he's heavy. That good for nothing," said one of the person who were pulling Madigo's arms. Madigo recognized that voice as well. "Casper, is that you?" he queried, squirmed out of the grasp of his liberators. "Madigo, you have recovered. Were you badly hurt?" Casper asked. "Yes, of course he's been badly hurt," came the dry response of a sharp little voice which Madigo had hardly dared hope to ever hear again. It was Mortar Tom. "Just look at him, for goodness sake!" "Mortar Tom, is that really you? I thought my uncle had got hold of you too." "Ha! He never saw me. Remember, I'm invisible to most humans. But you're going to have to work on that reflex of yours, kid. You reacted about as fast as your uncle's attackers on the old sack of mortar." Once again came the sound of battle horn blowing to the assembly. Dracoids and henchmen ran to their respective positions, and craftsmen and servants of the fortress swarmed back and forth. Soon afterwards, several war drums started pounding, and the sound of the officers' commands whipped through between the walls of the castle and along the passageways. What's going on?" Madigo asked. "A big army is approaching from the south," Helena explained as she stared at Madigo. "Goodness, look at you!" "Are you sure it didn't get hurt?" It was Jasper, who carried Madigo's legs on the way up from the dungeon. Madigo shook his head, which wasn't such a good idea. Everything started to spin again, and if it hadn't been for his friends, he would have fainted once more. "We have to get him to the infirmary," Jasper said. "Hurry, before they see us," Helena said, and walked ahead to prepare a bed for Madigo. I'm so thirsty," Madigo mumbled. He felt his vision narrow into a dark grey tunnel. He could barely feel his legs as Jasper and Casper carried him across the inner fortress courtyard and into the infirmary, zigzagging between the many soldiers rushing back and forth who were carrying weapons that had to be positioned on the walls. Who's coming?" Madigo wanted to know. "We don't know," Casper replied. "All we know is that it's an army coming from the south." It's the southern counties, Mortar Tom explained as he ran like a cat between a soldier's legs. They finally discovered that it's Mortero's Dracos that have recently been responsible for all those raids to the south to get slaves for the expansion of Bloodstone. Madigo cast a glance at the keep and managed to just catch a glimpse of Mortero, who came out wearing a jacket of chainmail armor and a cape, before the infirmary door frame blocked his view and at the same time concealed him from Mortero's eyes.
End of chapter.
End of chapter.